So this is a view of Deal Lake in the early 1900s. It was actually very much utilized at that time. There's a postcard from a boating rental place in 1906. There was actually a regatta in 1908. So it was actually really utilized a lot back then. So next slide, please. So I don't know if you can put it on presentation mode. If you go on the bottom all the way to the right, so just make it a little bigger. Yeah. Yes. So the boat ramp that we have in Asbury Park right now is adjacent to the 7-Eleven on 7th Avenue. It actually is a ramp for motorized vehicles. It's not really meant for kayaks. You can put a kayak in, but it's a little bit awkward. So it's challenging because there really is no dock. So you're sort of like moving back and forth. There is also no traffic light at 7th and Main Street, which I have almost gotten hit numerous times trying to drag my kayak only at least across the street because people are coming off the really drive really fast and they're like, oh, whoa. Like, so it's a little bit dangerous as well. And parking is limited there, especially on weekends when you have trucks with those trailers. So, next slide. So this is a view of where the current Asbury Park boat ramp is and the proposed one, and that actually, the exact location would have to really be further stuff with the city engineer and actually the city. So moving on to the next slide. So the benefit of having a second access point for Asbury Park is it will make it easier and safer for actually people with paddleboards and kayaks. It also can be ADA compliant, so people that are in wheelchairs, elderly people. I actually got my 92-year-old mother on the lake, and it takes 2 people, and it's not very easy. I'm very nervous about it. The location where it would be near a densely populated area. There's building towers, there's other apartment complexes, so it's pretty densely populated. So we would access to even, big area of the whole city, but even immediate access to people that live there. And then a visual location would create greater awareness of the lake and for tourists who are visiting. It also could reduce liability to the city by providing safer access to the lake, and a large parking area is available there at Fisherman's Cove and on Daily Drive. So next slide. So this is an example of, there's a company called Easy Dock. It's an example of a municipal Easy Dock kayak launch that is ADA compliant. Next slide. So the cost of the site, so I talked to, I sent pictures to the company, and there's a non-ADA compliant version, and he said would be around $15,000 to $20,000. The ADA compliant would be $30,000 to $50,000, but there would be additional costs associated with making access to that ramp available, and that would be additional costs that he could not do. We assume that the dock will be placed over the bulkhead. The restoration of the concrete docks are really out of scope. That's a huge project, and it's very costly. I talked to Robert Mancini at DPW. It's a big project, probably not actually this. If approved, the company will meet with the city engineer and make recommendations for the location of it. Thank you very much.
The next one we have is the Deal Lake improvements. Yeah.
Excuse me, Gabrielle, I know it's not going to be compatible with the screen, but I have like a very, very brief video of what it might look like. The dock. This person, I don't know if you can see, a person rowing up, and he takes it up to the little ramp, and it kind of rolls up, and rolls down. Looks peaceful. And then you can get up the bars on the side, you put yourself up, hoist your kayak up, and you're good to go. The ATA part would be on the side, and then there's a catalog, which I had also looked up, and they said their prices start at $24,000. But that's depending on what kind of wood you get, what kind of the ATA, but it's really not outrageously expensive. So there's my presentation.
it on the website, okay.
Are we,
I have another question. Are kayak owners going to have keep their kayaks there all the time?
that's one of the other presentations.
Oh, it's a different presentation.
That's not part one, I think it's not
Who
yours,
does
right?
this?
That's yours, kayak tax. Okay, so there we go. So I'm actually, here's a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And just real quickly, I understand that there's been a preliminary cost from the city, which was under the total amount we have. When the city costed it, did they include the estimate for how much the curb cut or other improvements would need to be made in order to have access to the ramp?
Yeah, so the
Okay.
city will do a complete analysis
Okay.
of what the entire cost will be to prepare the site and put the document.
And we think preliminarily that is lower than the total budget we have for the project?
Yeah, I mean, by the prices Gabrielle is showing us, it seems to be, we had priced out originally trying to repair those docks,
Yeah.
the cement docks, and we knew that was gonna be over the budget. So people who did put them in, we had to balance it out and say it's
So-
over a budget, but this looks like an okay.
So even with all the other improvements that have to go to,
It looks like it.
Okay, that's what I'm just asking.
We'll get the city engineer to actually
Yeah.
completely price it out. Once we realize what the top ones are, we'll have them priced out.
Okay.
More formally.
yeah, I just wanted to be sure that, because I know the 50,000 is just for the dock, because I imagine the other improvements will cost probably close, if not more than that.
You want another presentation on the docks, floating docks, before you move on to the next,
Yeah. My name is.
I was also asked to look into the question of floating docks. And so I did. I got some information here for the I also talked to the same company that Easy Dock, and we came up with a little bit different scheme. We came up with a floating platform, and they could go in Deal Lake, it could go in Sunset Lake, it could go in Western Lake, and it could be moved around. I priced it out with them, and I also priced out if the city decided to build their own dock, I also priced out and have a small detail about it. And the prices on the docks, similar, the dock would be approximately 8 feet by 19 feet. That would just be the floating platform in the lake. And there would be a ramp down to the platform. And according to the information from Easy Dock, that ramp would be approximately $3,000. They were unable to give me a price because they need to know the difference in elevation between the bank and the top of the lake elevation. And that will determine the length of the ramp, and that will determine the cost. And the floating platforms were in the magnitude of $9,000 installed. They have two versions. One has about an 8-inch freeboard, and the other one is about 15 inches freeboard. The freeboard is the difference between the water level and the top of the platform. And what they have depicted for us is a platform, sort of a finger platform into the lake. It's 8 foot wide and 19 foot long. And the total cost on that platform, plus they just estimated the ramp, and the total cost with that estimated $3,000 ramp is $12,000 $177.50. And because it is a municipality, and the municipality belongs to an outfit called Sourcewell, there's a 5% discount, which is included in that $12,000 figure. I also went on, show you. If you can see this figure, it's gray on gray and on the, not very much on white, but the gray portion of it is that ramp down onto the dock. And the larger gray area and lighter gray area is the dock itself. And that includes the anchoring system and all the other provisions that are required. If the city decides that that is the project and they want to look at make the ADA compliant, then there'll be an additional cost for the ramp. They feel that the floating dock itself would be compliant. Now, somebody showed a picture of a kayak ramp, mechanical ramp, and that could also be added to this. There's no problems with adding that type of a structure to the floating dock. I also, as I say, I did a little sketch of the floating dock and the ramp, and for a 4-component floating dock, 8 by 16 feet, the approximate material cost would be $9,000. That was using a product that from Home Depot. It was a fiber floating board. I couldn't get any information as to the durability of that in a wet circumstance. So I went to Trex and I traced out the same material using Trex instead, same type of construction. And by using the Trex, which is it's a fiber board, but it has a plastic component in it. We would add another $2,600 to that, which would bring the total for material only to $11,600.
Jim, I'm gonna tell you to wrap it up.
Okay,
Okay,
fair enough.
thank you. We're gonna try and keep each presentation to the 5-minute range, give or take, just so we can get all the information out in July of the year. So whoever next will come up. And one thing I want to say is, whatever project we do, it has to be ADA compliant. So both, it has to be, this option and stuff, everything the city builds will be ADA compliant. So we don't need to differentiate ADA or not, it will be ADA compliant 100%. So, thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Was that number 10?
No, that was still number 2.
This is all the docs.
So all of those were number 2.
It was all there.
Yeah,
Number
those 2
10.
presentations are number 2.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to be presenting Evelyn Alpert's idea for creating a walking path at Pontiac Garden on Deal Lake, again, the east side of Deal Lake, which Evelyn is having tonight. Next slide. So her proposal is to create a walkway on the lake side of Deal Lake. Restore one of the 3 concrete docks that are repaired, overgrown with weeds between 40 and 90. Provide a floating dock with easy access for kayaks, paddleboarders, and canoes, and create a pollinator garden at the 2 sites with the concrete docks that are included that work on the That was the proposal. Moving on to the next slide. So the unmet need is currently the only lake in Asbury Park that doesn't have a walking path. Deal Lake Drive is a high traffic road with parking on both sides. It really does impair visibility. Walking along, you really almost don't even see the lake because there's parking on both sides. Wheelchairs and strollers and walkers do not have access to the tranquility of the lake, which is really unfortunate, it's really a beautiful place. And concrete docks are a liability to the city and Western State. Really, it's the only lake in Asbury Park that doesn't have a park.
It doesn't have irrigation either.
So again, this is the same aerial view. There's two sections that are being proposed from West Street to Park, and then the Park to Main. So, there is actually a concrete walkway on the eastern section up to West Street currently. So, move to the next one. So you can see the tranquil view, there's nothing like the lake, it's really the tranquil view that we have looking across the lake. Next slide. And this is just example of your block view, this is pretty much every day. You really can't see much of it if you're walking down the sidewalk on the Asbury Drive, on the south. So, next slide. And then this, for those people who aren't aware, I mean, it's covered with poison ivy in the summertime. You can actually still get on them if you want to, because they're fences that you can get around. And they are actually dangerous for people. So, next slide. So, the budget estimate. So, first of all, the sidewalk, estimate section 1 again is from west to Park. The 510 feet long, doing a 5-foot wide sidewalk, and Robert Martini gave me the cost of $90 per foot, which would make it about $2,000. Section 2 is longer, it's 1,825 feet, and it would be about $82,000. The total cost of the sidewalk would be about $102,000. And Robert did indicate that the project could be done in sections, doesn't have to be all done in 1 year, so it can be done in stages. The cost of placing a floating dock, I mean, I'm going to say $30,000 to $50,000 because that's the ADA compliant version, and you can just refer to the presentation that was given. And the cost of removing the old docks, again, is unknown, it's actually quite high, so it's now out of scope of the initial idea. And the cost of the polymer garden could be absorbed by Asbury Park. Yeah, approved. Thank you to the irrigation. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Tom, you're next. Tom Kaminsky for the dog park.
Good evening, everyone. Well, just to get started, we don't have a dog park in Asbury Park. We have lots and lots of dogs, and we have lots of people who want a dog park. I'm going to be proposing a dog park over at where the boat launch is, or the boat ramp, which is on 7th Avenue and Main Street, just before you go over the bridge. I'm going to say at first that if we can do this and prove to the community that a dog park is a viable place, a safe place for dogs, a good place for owners to meet each other, to meet other dogs, we have the possibility of perhaps initiating a conversation in town that says, maybe we can have another dog park someplace else. Maybe we have 2 or 3 dog parks if this particular project works out. So I think part of the renaissance of Asbury Park is that it has once again become a pet-loving city. There are loads. I just looked around, and most of the people I know here have dogs. And I know most of you don't take them to a dog park, at least not a local dog park. I don't. I have 3 dogs, and I know as a dog owner and knowing my dogs, there are only 2 that I would ever take to a dog park. Because one of them would go nuts. And probably not be very friendly with other dogs. So that's part of what we have to deal with when we think about having a dog park. we really also have to educate our community. They have to know their dog, they have to know how dogs are going to interact, not only with other dogs, but with other owners. So I'm proposing this dog park. The site itself is 799 and 801 7th Avenue. And it's right where the boat ramp is, and there's a semicircular driveway there. To the right of that, coming off Main Street, is a very large space of land that is covered with about 14 or 15 beautiful trees. Most dog parks that you go to, if you go to any of them, are empty of trees. It's just bare, and it's hot, and it's cold. Well, that's not going to be the case over here. And we're going to protect the trees. We've got plans to put fencing around them, put rocks there, put mulch there, so that when the dogs do what they always do, pee, they won't pee on the trees. They'll pee on places where it can be taken care of. We've worked in collaboration already with the DPW, and they're on board. They're willing to help us in any way possible, not only just in terms of protecting the trees, but also waste stations, which are very important. The Shade Tree Commission is going to remove the circular garden that's there right now. And all those plants are going to be replanted around the perimeter of the dog park. There will be two of them. There'll be one large one for dogs, for large dogs, and then a smaller one for small dogs, which both border the peripheral driveway. They're all ADA, of course, accessible. And I think the only thing that we want to make sure that people understand is the boat launch area will not be affected. People will still be able to drive their cars up there, or their trucks and so forth. And there's also a dock area where there had been previously another business, which is no longer there. Well, that dock is still there. And I think that can still, it's not there?
No, it's there, but our insurance company told us that it's unusable.
Oh,
It's
it was?
dangerous.
Oh,
So
okay.
there isn't a dock there.
Well, that makes my life even easier because then makes the dog park even bigger. There's a water source already there because we do have a garden, so that makes it perfect for owners and their dogs. Because we have that tree canopy, and we also have an open air canopy, we're going to have benches and chairs and tables so owners can come and relax, so they can meet each other, so that they can just enjoy the idea of having a safe place to walk their dog. The commission, again, will provide the shrubbery and the flowers. I dealt with the president of that commission, and so Gabrielle. So the only real expense right now would be fencing. The entire gardens, 2 gardens, have to be fenced with a 6-foot fence. That's the recommendation by all the American pet companies. It should be at least, it should be 6 foot, if possible 7, but I don't think we need 7. And one section I got a bid for was just about $25,000. Now, that's a very meager sum, because each of the gardens is going to have 2 entries, 2 double gate entries. One on one side of the small garden and one on the other side. Because if there's too much activity going on, dogs are intimidated by that. And they won't go into the garden, or they'll be frightened. So we want to make sure people have access in 2 different ways for both of those gardens. And lastly, if the project is approved, we will be setting some kind of precedent. Because people love their pets. More and more, they love their pets. We become a biking city, people love it. We become a smoothing city, people love it. We become a pet city, people love it. We become a garden city, and people love it. We have established a 501c3 for the Friends of the Asbury Park Environmental Shade Tree Commission, and we will subsidize along with hopefully the city to build the very first dog park. That's it.
So I just
thing that we've gotten similar submissions for a dog park in Library Square Park, because people downtown are telling us that a lot of them live in apartments, don't have backyards, they would like something close to where they live. And we also got a submission for a dog park in Springwood Park, because we have a dog beach here, but we have nothing in Southwest. So there's actually 3 submissions for dog parks, and you can only go this.
When we were talking about this among the committee, when Tom and I talked about it, there were a couple of baseline things that we felt were necessary to establish a dog park in the city. One anywhere in the city. One was it would be limited to dogs who were licensed in the city of Asbury Park, who already demonstrated that they've been vaccinated against rabies. Secondly, it would be open from dawn to dusk and not lit artificially at night. Thirdly, there would be some sort of electronic key mechanism that would let people and their dogs in and out without having to have keys. And again, access to one of those electronic keys would be given only to people who register to become members of the dog park who would demonstrate their dogs have been vaccinated against rabies. So it would be somewhat regulated in that sense and limited to our residents who have demonstrated responsible pet ownership.
Okay, we're on to number 5, fountains and statues. So we're going to start with Pam, and then we have a second presentation with Jen.
Fountain and a statue. I had proposed replacing the fountain in Sunset Lake. And at first glance, it was going to be very easy until I really got into it. With DPW, with the manufacturer of the fountains that we could put there, and with an installation company. And it turns out that what is left there in the lake from a prior fountain is really unknown. It's an enormous piece of concrete. The DPW does not have the wherewithal to remove it. The electricity that feeds that particular old fountain is fed by a powerhouse on the side of the lake where the Veterans Park is. And that brings 220 out to the old fountain. So all of that has to be dismantled, and then hopefully we could put a floating fountain in there. But, there's always a but, the floating fountain required a minimum of 4 to 6 feet of clear water. And we don't know how deep Sunset Lake is there. We don't know how that cement block is attached. It doesn't move in a storm, so anyway, my proposal for the participatory budget would be to allocate probably $10,000 to get an engineering company out there to look at what the heck we've got, how deep the lake is it viable to put another fountain out there, and then in next year's participatory, maybe we could put a new fountain. If not, we'll put a statue on the cement block. All right, that's my fountain. My statue project has to do with the Bradley statue. There was a lot of conversation a number of years ago about taking the statue down. Many people find it offensive. The other side of that argument was we could use it, leave it there and use it as a learning experience, a teaching and learning experience. So I'm going to read you, this is the kind of thing that I would get a bronze plaque for made. This is what kind of what it would say, but it also is a justification for what I'm talking about and why we should do this on the statue. James A. Bradley designed the original streetscape at Asbury Park. With no formal training, most agreed he did an excellent job providing wide streets which funnel the ocean breeze westward. He provided public transportation and all the amenities a first town in the 1880 could envision. However, James Bradley also espoused a racist attitude toward the blue-collar population of the city, which held were not for people of color, and the people who labored to make Asbury Park an extraordinary city were marginalized. This racist attitude continued through the Jim Crow years and beyond. It is only today, in the 21st century, that we see a more equitable treatment of our population. We continue to strive toward a totally inclusive city. So I would propose a plaque to put on the statue that would say that, so that the statue would remain, but people would realize that we acknowledge the racist history in Asbury Park, and we're proud to be overcoming it. I've gotten 2 proposals on the cost for such a plaque. One is about $4,800 and the other is $11,000. Thank you.
I was going to ask, you're working with a company down one of the plaques for the monument project on Asbury Park, so I can give you the information also to get a pricing, because the pricing is coming lower.
Great.
Great,
Thank you.
that's, you get that, that would be great.
Jim, did you have a presentation for us as well?
Surprise, surprise. Did you know that there was another fountain in town? At the north end of the rain garden by the train station, there's an amphitheater. In the center of that amphitheater, below a grate, are nozzles for a fountain. I've been told by some of the longtime residents of Asbury Park, Eric Iverson, John Moore, Steve Kay, that they never saw that fountain in operation. And I've been led to believe that the fountain was constructed at the time that the train station was constructed. And at that time, all of the appurtenances needed for that fountain were put in. It's still there. DPW has looked at that fountain and said that the nozzles are they are severely corroded and are not operable. But all the piping is in place, including the pump, the motor, and controls. And I believe that with that fountain operating, people getting off the train, it's a welcoming gesture to people who come and use the train to get to Asbury Park. That would be one of the first things they would see. I'm making some assumptions because I don't really have the facts on here. I'm assuming that there are approximately 10 nozzles, and that each of those nozzles will cost about $100. That the pump and motor are not operable and will need to be replaced. And I'm estimating that the cost for replacing the pump and the motor would be about $3,000. That's based on the cost of the aerators that have been put in Wesley Lake and Sunset Lake. And I was involved with those installations. And I'm thinking that maybe the controls are out of date and would need replacing. And I'm estimating about $2,000 for electrical work, which would include a timer and to turn the pump, turn the motor on, make the pump work. And so that approximately $6,000 to get the replace the nozzles, pump, motor, controls. I don't know how far they would have to go back with the piping and stuff. I'm assuming that the piping is in good shape or reasonably usable. And if this project is considered to move forward, then at that time we go into a little bit more detail as to the cost of a pump, motor, nozzles, and all that kind of thing. But everything is there. even though it's not operable. And I have no idea, and neither does any of the people I've spoken to, as to why this was never put into service, but it never was. So, as I say, if we look at this at a later date, we can certainly get more, a better cost analysis of this. But on this image, it's going to take approximately $6,000 to get this up and running. Thank you.
Okay, we're on to number 7, outside exercise equipment, and we have Gail Rosewater.
Well, I just want to say I think this is an amazing process, and thank you. For everything. And I also want to, first of all, my name is Gail Rosewater. I'm the chair of the Wesley Lake Commission. We have Dominic Green, who's the vice chair of the commission here, and Jen Schiff, one of our commissioners, which I think is lovely. And I want to put in an unofficial plug. Also, that anybody that's proposing anything for Sunset Lake or Deal Lake, I hope we did so with the blessing of the commission. Each of our lake commissions, all 3 of our lake commissions, work very, very hard to develop comprehensive plans and implement those plans. And if you do not have the blessing of the commission for what you have chosen to present tonight, then I hope the committee will get that blessing from the commission before they decide to move forward with it. We have to work together. So tonight, I just want to talk to you about a project for a 5-station outside exercise system that would be at Wesley Lake. The commission did review a number of different ideas, and this is the one we voted on to put forward. This particular system is made by a company called Playland, and it's called Energy. It has 120 exercises with instructions and lesson plans for middle and high school students as well as adults. Each station provides a different activity which is beneficial for total body fitness. Station 1 is stretching. Station 2 is pull-ups, chin-ups, hurdle dips, and jumps. Station 3 is push-ups, balance exercises, and squats. Station 4 works on agility and power stepping. And Station 5 is exercises for the core and torso balance. The system is compliant with ADA. I know I don't think that, sorry. Installation time is 30 hours for an experienced installer. The carbon footprint is minimal and no special surfacing is required. We are proposing that this go along Wesley Lake and possibly at the corner of Grand and Lake where there's a picnic table. On either side, there's some empty land that it can easily fit on. This system is long-term, low-cost solution for any public or private spaces. That's how the company advertises itself. We know that strength training can benefit people by burning calories, decreasing abdominal fat, decrease your risk of falls, lower your risk of injury, work on your heart, manage blood sugar levels. This system is appropriate for ages 13 and older. It's not for children. And the total cost of the 5-station system is about $25,000. We also would have to pay for installation, or we can have DPW.
And in playground improvements, there were also suggestions for adult swing sets and other playground upgrades within the city.
Number 7, we have park benches. We have Wendy here to give a presentation.
I'm going to kind of skip by each phase so that people can see. I'm going to start out saying I have a prepared presentation, but the theory that
a picture is worth 1,000 words. I really want to draw your attention to these really fantastic images that you're going to see, which are examples of what we want to do. I'm here on behalf of the Sunset Lake Commission, and we're proposing funding up to 5 site-specific art benches that are both practical and beautiful, mainly for Sunset Lake Park, the jewel of the city, as the start of an AP art bench project to encourage enjoyment of the pastoral beauty of the park. The benches will be created by professional artists identified through a public call for design submission of benches that will be made of durable materials with a minimum lifespan of at least 5 years, although for the designs that we've seen, they're probably going to last 40 or 70 years. Each bench will cost about $10,000 to $15,000, and the total cost for this phase of the project is $50,000. The project would take about 2 years from the time we do the artist call to the installation of the benches. The benches would be coordinated through the city's Public Art Commission and the Asbury Park Arts Council. As you can see from the pictures that are up on the screen, the benches are functional, but they're also pieces of art that are meant to be touched, explored, and played on. The benches will be designed to enhance their chosen natural surroundings, may be playful, thought-provoking, framing a view, or simply a wonderful piece of art. You can see all of the possibilities, different materials, different purposes, some to convey messages, some to spotlight the beauty and the physical features of a location, and some with interactive properties to further engage the viewer, and some simply to more beautiful designs. Educational and recreational programs can be developed with these benches as the subject and their surroundings. For example, a scavenger hunt with clues related to the features of the benches or their location, which will provide additional stimulus for exploration around the park and later as we expand this around the city. We believe that this project represents a great opportunity to bring together goals that the city and the residents have deemed important. Accessible and idyllic public spaces, accessible public art, opportunities to engage in stimulating activities outdoors that can foster engagement that span generations. While the project is proposed for the benefit of our residents, it does have the power to foster tourism and be part of the economic engine that helps our city thrive. The benches would be placed first in strategic locations around Sunset Park and possibly in another park. The first benches will start a long-term program with more benches added every few years, funding permitting, creating a citywide outdoor public art installation. The art benches are modeled after the Woodlands, Texas art bench project that was started in 2015 and now has over 30 benches. The additional benches can be funded publicly by grants, by businesses, by individual donations, and all to be done in phases that more benches could be commissioned throughout the city. For example, along Wesley Lane, Springwood and Asbury Avenues, at City Hall, along commercial avenues and residential streets. As a walkable and bikeable city, the art benches will add to the visual interest of our community, as well as provide places to stop and rest, whether it's from a walk, a ride, running errands, or waiting for a bus. So thank you for taking the time to do this.
I have a question for the benches. Are the benches glued into or stabilized into the concrete?
Yes, they're not going to get stolen.
They
will be fixed. And there were other submissions for just standard benches in different places throughout the city.
Are the benches created by the artists, or is there some company that produces these benches? Or
It's created by the artist. The way the process normally works is once you make the design call, I mean, the artists that mainly do these fantastical benches, the calls are made, we get them in, we can give criteria that we want them. They know that they're going in a park, for example, for this phase. The next phase, it might be, we give them a location. So all of these benches are often site-specific or they're message-specific. People will often donate funds in memory of someone, in honor of someone. But every bench is site-specific, and that's how they're designed. And the artist works with the city and the Public Art Commission through the entire process to create a bench that's suitable for the location and suitable, you know, for our community.
So the design process and the production process are not necessarily the same person.
They are,
They are the same person.
yes.
Number 8 on our list is playground improvements, and we have Holly here to give a presentation.
I want to thank all of you also. You are in great company. I think this is the last presentation, the last proposal.
So, yes, we are dovetailing with so many of the other proposals with regard to benches, with regard to dog spaces and people spaces and even fountains, making our city more livable and more beautiful. Our proposal represents 9 proposals from residents who would like to see the proposals for play space, active space, and recreation and resting space in Sunset Park. And I love the benches too, by the way. They're beautiful. Maybe that's something that we could figure out a way to work together with. So seating options and play space and equipment for use to cater to various ages and to interests and abilities. There is a basic design of Sunset Park, which is primarily a passive park. We'll go to the next slide. But with regard to the way that it's designed currently, we believe that the section closest to Main Street, one of the ledges could accommodate the kind of play specifics that we're talking about. With regard to baby swings, adult swings, climbing structures, if you want to go on ahead. We were talking about approximately $50,000. There's a woman on a swing, there's a very rugged looking play area. There's so many options of the types of play equipment that could be constructed in Sunset Park. We have examples from all over the world, from all over the country and all over the world, that are artistic, that are interactive, that are beautiful, that blend beautifully into the park itself. And so most of the residents, or I would say the majority of the residents in Asbury Park, are not owners of a lot of property. They don't have backyards, they may be living in apartments, whatever the ages that they are. So our park can function as their backyard. It is really a place, a destination that everyone can go to, whether it's caregivers watching children play, or whether it's adults sitting and interacting. So an all-age active space or interactive space, including equipment for climbing, stretching, swinging, bouncing, pushing, pulling, and comfortable seating. There could be 2 areas: fitness equipment for 13 and up, a section with outdoor fitness equipment for adults and teenagers only, pull-up bars, which also dovetails into Gail's suggestion. Pull-up bars, push, pull, balance, and other equipment to promote cardio, muscular endurance, strength, and agility, and signage as to how to use the equipment. And then play equipment. And it could all be blended together. Play equipment with swing slides, climbing structures, and other equipment that caters to children of all ages, and benches and tables so that people can sit, talk, play cards, interact. And in summary, an active community play space for all ages, designed to encourage physical activity, socialization, and fun for everyone in the community of all ages and abilities. $50,000 approximately.
Karen? Not sure if she was going to make it or not. Did you speak with Karen? Was it Karen Martin?
Yeah, she said she wasn't gonna.
She wasn't.
Oh, was that me, Carrie Martin?
Is it Carrie?
Oh, I collaborated with
Yeah.
Oh, you okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're on to number 9, St. John's Island Pavilion, and we have Matt and Owen.
You can do those here.
Hi folks, before we start, I just want to say this is amazing. I mean, my husband and I have been here for 22 years, and I don't see why we shouldn't, It's about time. And whether it's this year or next year, I mean, these are great ideas that just make the city better. And I think, yeah, I mean, I would love to see all of that. It's amazing. So, what are we here for?
So we're here for an event space on St. John's Island. And this would be like a covered area on St. John's Island.
So the idea came from, we're gonna look at the images up here, and St. John's Island is right off the Grand Avenue Bridge, small island in Sunset Lake. And no, we did not consult with the Sunset Lake Commission. We apologize. We will do that immediately. But we've been on there a bunch of times, taking our dogs for walks, we've gone up there on bikes, and you know, it's an amazing space. You know, it really is like a beautiful moment, this kind of neat sanctuary surrounded by water. That interestingly enough isn't about the beach, right? You look west, you look over the water, you look at the footbridge, the sunsets are spectacular, and you see people occupying the space in a whole variety of ways. And so we started talking about, you know, is there a more meaningful use of that space than something that's just sort of haphazard? And when we started talking about it, we were talking about how, you know, Ocean Grove has its boardwalk pavilion. And we thought, you know, what if there was a pavilion there that allowed for a whole host of events? Maybe it was weddings, maybe it was performances, poetry meetings, whatever it is. You know, maybe it's even something that allows the city to, you know, if there's a designated use permit, it allows them to sort of monetize it, you know, on certain occasions or for specific events, it's easy or whatever. When you look at, you know, images like this, there's a tremendous amount of land that gets used. It can certainly host a number of people. And is there a way that we can think more purposefully about that island and make it this kind of heart, in the heart of this amazing park and this amazing lake? It needs a new fountain, it needs new benches, and all these kind of things. And so we started thinking about just landscape, you know, and sort of how do you begin to sort of create different zones. And these are a lot of inspirational images that, you know, talk about, like, for example, big picnic tables or great art benches. You know, great pathways that allow for sort of different types of occupation. Even that image in the lower right, you know, that idea of some sort of like platform that might elevate you so that when you think of it's a cheesy Instagrammable moment with the lake in the backdrop, you know, somebody up there taking a picture is a really sort of special place to be sort of right over Sunset Park. That led to this discussion of like what could it be to this? It's sort of this simple, not all simple, but simple open air pavilion that really is just a covered space, a place that shields you from inclement weather or from inclement sun, a great place to have a moment, a reception, an event, a concert, something like that. And so we thought something that wants to be simple, wants to be timber framed, wants to be built sort of, you know, out of sort of local sustainable materials, and something that is really just kind of an open air moment. So we took that for the next. And really that led to this idea of, you know, coming right off of that bridge into this kind of cluster of tables, rocks, benches, something very sort of landscape that pushes out into more of an open lawn area. We leave all the mature trees, they're all beautiful, clean up the scrub along the side, and then it terminates into maybe these two pavilions that nest next to each other. So either for small or large events or just kind of general size. And that way, when you're sitting there looking at, you know, you are looking out on the water at the footbridge. It really is just a beautiful, beautiful moment. So, you know, cost-wise, who knows? You know, I think the reality is if we're just focused on the pavilions, and, you know, there's already some concrete there, we can do a simple concrete pad, simple timber structures. We're probably talking somewhere between about $15,000 and $75,000. The rest of the landscaping, we would dip into the distance. As already promised, he's going to install it all. No, it would be a work in progress, but really we think if we can create that moment, then, you know, we'll begin to iterate and build off of that into something really special.
Did you have an estimate on that? An estimate?
One more final presentation is the kayak storage racks, and that's gonna be done by Doug McLean.
I'll try and be quick because we're. I'm Doug McQueen, and I'm going to tag on to the idea that we presented already this evening about improving recreational access to the lakes and the ocean. But I wanted to start out by saying thanks to the group that's putting all this together, and I hope there's a way that we can get all of these as funded as possible. But to that end, seriously, if there's a way of using volunteer labor to help any of these projects.
Are you
Absolutely. This is a conspiracy. If the volunteer labor helps make more of these feasible, then I'm volunteering. I know other people here would do. So to get around to the proposal, it kind of dovetails with some of the suggestions you heard about docks and water access. The proposal is to add several kayak and stand-up paddleboard racks in 3 different areas around the city. One at the park on 7th Avenue and Main Street near the boat ramp. They're not very large, so I don't think they would interfere with the placement of the dog park. But then also 2 on the beach to provide ocean kayak and stand-up paddleboard access to the ocean. Because a lot of people have kayaks and stand-up paddleboards, and sometimes they're quite bulky and difficult to move around and bring back and forth to home. So if people have a place to store them, they could improve their recreational access in the water. The design of these racks is fairly simple. I'll hold up a couple of examples. They tend to either be like a lattice design or a fir tree design with a main post and some side posts off to the side. People would be responsible for chaining or locking their paddleboard to the rack. They're either made out of wood, aluminum, or PVC, and the cost varies the cost will vary depending on how big you make them. If you can make them big enough to fit about 10 or 15 paddle sport boats, like either kayaks or stand-up paddleboards, they might cost about $2,000. But if you break it down, they're about $200 per paddlecraft, let's say. And the cost of those racks can be offset actually by, if the city chooses to, by charging a fee to access and have storage, just like we do with the beach lockers. Now, it'd be great if it was a public amenity and they were free, but to help offset the cost of providing them, I did look into other towns that do it. There are kayak racks in Allentown, there are Allenhurst, there are kayak racks in Belmar. I came up, Kathleen Luma also submitted some suggestions, and we found a whole list of cities. In fact, I started running off the page with a list of places that provide these kind of racks, everything from Virginia Beach to the Outer Banks to up in Massachusetts. They all do this. So the city would have to decide whether or not they wanted to charge. I would suggest that in the beginning, if you make it free and it becomes oversubscribed, then you charge for it. Or you then charge for it and use the money to build more. But in any case, the whole idea is to provide these racks in those locations. And like I said, they're modular, so you could build a small one, if it gets used, build another one the following year, if it continues to get used, build it. But they're fairly modular and it fits in, dovetails with the whole idea that we've heard tonight, that we want to improve recreational access to the water.
I'm actually blown away by all of these presentations, all of these ideas. Everything was so well thought out. I want to vote for everyone too.
So voting is going to be open, starting tomorrow through March 31st. Anyone here can vote tonight, yeah.
You can also go to cityofasburypark.com/ballot and get the online ballot.
So this is what the ballot looks like online, which our IT department, Joan Nate, and Sonia, Director of Communications, worked on setting up for us. You would essentially go over here and there's a drop down where you can choose from any of the presentations that we've seen tonight, but also correlate with the same numbers on the paper ballot that everyone should have. And then we are looking to make an announcement at the April 12th council meeting with who the winners are. Yes,
Will we see like, people see like all the vote results or just like the winners?
good question. Just the winners?
Yeah, we're still finding our way through this whole process, but I think there's no reason why we shouldn't just.
Yeah, we can post our results, that's totally fine. And to everyone's point, you know, depending on what this, you know, one vote might get your project done, because like I said, we have a bucket of $250,000. And if this is 10, this is 12, if this is 80, we might get everything done. So, you know, just vote for something.
I did, so you're gonna stack rank all the votes and top vote
Yeah,
gets the
whoever has the
project.
most votes
and then
gets
we'll
it, and then, yeah.
I said, oh, great. That is like.
Can we give out the ballots?
You can certainly walk around this weekend and
Yes, we want you involved, we want you to be engaged with us, why we're doing this. So please encourage all your friends and neighbors to vote as well.
The presentation.
Don't vote early and vote often.
The presentation is available, will be available tomorrow, right on the same website. So you'll be able to see if you missed something or want to look at something again closer, you'll be able to see tonight's presentation and then vote online if you'd like, or paper ballot.
Tracy, will you put up the PowerPoint or the?
Yes.
That screen you're on right now is not available yet.
Yeah, no, it is, so, it's available when I left the office tonight, so you can go directly to the ballot, instead of using the paper ballot, you can just vote online if that's easier for you.
I'm just saying, I'm going to the participatory budget,
Yep, so,
/PB, and here's the
Right, it says-
online, click here,
yep, click
and
here.
it takes me to the paper
Okay, well, I looked
ballot.
tomorrow, somebody will fix it and it'll
So-
go live.
If you go to cityofasburypark.com/PD, that's the participatory budget page. All of the explanation on how to vote and what the rules are written on there. You can get a PDF of the paper ballot if you want to print it out and mail it to us, you can do that. You can come to City Hall and pick up a ballot if you'd like to. If you'd like to vote online, I'll fix the link tonight. Sorry about that, I was rushing out the door. But you can also go to cityofasburypark.com/ballot, and that will go directly to that seamless form. That's what I should have linked it to. So you can vote any way you want. You can vote one time.
Only vote one time.
One time, or you can vote for one project, and we will be checking, the IT department will be checking the IP addresses, how many times one computer voted, to make sure that we don't get 10 votes from one person with different.
Mr.
names on it.
Kaminsky.
And then we can, couples can vote, right, so like John and I come in here, we both vote, and that's okay. But you don't want us to do multiple votes from our Exactly.
Any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so, thanks to our committee for holding people, Yvonne, and Amy, John Moore, and Angela, and Jackie Short, who's running the center of the committee also. Thanks, everybody, thanks to all of you for engaging and holding this together with us.
Thanks, everyone.